the most obvious winner of the entire week. He's 13-2.
Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by BetMGM with myself, Kate Tracey, alongside Dave Young and Andrew Mount. So we've got the usual three back together again to look forward to York and Goodwood, of course, on the final day of York's Ebor Festival. Loads to go at, some impossible races, so I can't wait to chuck these races at the lads then to get their thoughts. But they did have a good week last week because 3 winners were found then from the lads last week. Of course, Alazi went off as even money favourite in the end. Then at Newmarket, Matty found Archduke Ferdinand at 10-1, a 10-1 winner for Matty. Don't know why he's not here, because he also found a 9-2 winner in Dare to Hope as well. Then, of course, we had a few near misses too, because at Newbury, Michaela's Boy 14-1 in third. Then we had Witch Hunter for Andrew. That was for Andrew, Michaela's Boy. Andrew also had Witch Hunter 8-1 finishing second, and Matty had Jumbie 18-1 in third. So sorry, Matty, doesn't mean that you get the call up.
I was
going to
say
week.
He's not here because the school holidays have ended now, but that's a bit unfair because we take the mick out of his fresh faced looks too often. At least I do.
I just hope he's having a fantastic time with his friends in the park. He's not getting pushed down the slide like he was last week. So Matty, we'll be talking to you again very soon, but we better get stuck into the action because we're going to begin at York with the 150. This is for Group 3 Strensel Stakes. Not so easy to say when you've got composites. 3-year odds and over 9 furlongs. Ali and Arby heading the way currently, Andrew. So does he win or are you taking him on?
Yeah, Ali and Arby did bomb out last time out at Newbury, and that was the first time that he'd been asked to race left-handed. Whether that's coincidence or not, I don't know. That was behind Phantom Flight, who we're going to see at York this weekend. I wasn't particularly sort of wanted to rush to take a short price about him, and that's the same about See the Fire. I'm a See the Fire fan. This one went off at just 15-2 for the 1,000 guineas, of course. She was drawn on the wrong side and raced up with the pace where you needed to come late and down the near side. So I put her up as a bet next time at Royal Ascot on the strength of that. And the Coronation Stakes, 50-1, 4 places with 1 or 2 firms. Needless to say, she's finished 5th. She just got chinned by Amelka for that 4th place in a photo. She ran another good race in defeat last time. That was in Group 1 company at York and the Nassau Stakes. Trouble is, it's all good runs in defeat, and you have to go back to her race course debut at Newmarket last August to find the last time she got ahead in front. So given that profile, she's not one I want to back that sort of price. I prefer Emphajar of those at the head of the betting. Probably unlucky to lose that unbeaten record since gelded when going down by a neck at Goodwood in the big field handicap last time out. Came late down the outside of the track when you wanted to be closer to that inside rail. But I'd think, oh sorry, Phantom Flight is this race, isn't it? Silly me. Yeah, Phantom Flight is the way I'd probably go. He's already got a verdict over Aldinabi. Hang on, sorry, I've just got my races mixed up again. Yes, he has already got a verdict over Albinari when beating Al Arce at Newbury, of course, on his debut for George Scott. Built on that with a solid third at Goodwood when not quite seeing out the mile and a half trip. Then back over this trip, back at a track where he's run well before, with a prominent style that we've seen to be so effective this week, even if the tailwind does drop comes Saturday. I thought Phantom Flight at a double-figure price was fair enough. Haunted Dream was the other one I quite liked as well, given his he's completely ground dependent. If you just filter out all his runs except on good to firm ground, he's got a good record. So I'll go Phantom Flight over Haunted Dream. Might play the exacta as well because they're both double figure prices at the time of recording.
Yeah, both 12-1 then, Phantom Flight and Haunted Dream. But Phantom Flight then going to be the main play. Still looks as though he should have more to offer for George Scott, doesn't he? Back over a track that he has won at. Dave, Andrew's looking away from the head of the market. Where were you looking?
I mean, I've looked all over the shop on this one because it's a race I've sort of probably spent too much time on. It's dangerous play when you're doing that because if you fancy one, didn't you? And then if you're having to look for too long, you're probably trying to get something beat that doesn't get beat. So, I just want to touch on this one that I think 13 of the last 14 winners of this race were not 3-year-olds. You touched on that at the start that it is for 3-year-olds plus. We've got See the Fire, Alianabi and Task Force all coming in here as those 3-year-olds. So stats on those runners' perspective would sort of go against those ones. That's where I've sort of been with See the Fire because I keep looking at it thinking probably does deserve to be at the head of the market. I know those runs have been in defeat, as Andrew touched on, but it's been Group 1s for, I think, our last 5 or 6 runs, and they have been pretty decent. The Opera Singer run at Goodwood was decent, and it was her highest RPR. Opera Singer sort of, I don't think, like, did it dirty that day, but wasn't really well supported in the market. I know the owner said after that he had to bet her because she was too big a price, but I don't know if the performance is as worthy of the rating that she got for that. So I'm sort of kind of lukewarm on her. Ali and Arby, I'm just a bit worried about him. The fact that he's comfortably was beaten last time when he was dropping back into listed company. So again, he'd been running in better class, couldn't do it then. I'm just worried about him now. And obviously Jim Crowley picks him over Jar, so that would suggest that Jar's got much less of a chance than you might think on form. He's done all right, but everything he's done's been through handicap ranks, and it doesn't always stand the test of time. So I think for the sake of just trying to take him on, and it's not just trying to take him on, like, I think there's like a bit of substance to it. I thought Task Force, top price 8 to 1 at the time of recording, seemed to either lacked a little bit of class or lacked a bit of speed in that 1,000 guinea or 2,000 guineas. But considering he was second to Van Dijk as a 2-year-old, it shouldn't really be speed, should it? He had a wind up at the end of last season, though, so that was his first run after that. Then they dropped him back in trip behind Hartum, and that was in a Group 3. But I don't know why they dropped him back in trip, really, because they started at a mile, and I thought they might just keep progressing in trip with him. Not many options to run over 9 furlongs, which is what this one is. So I'd sort of forgive that penultimate run. Last run, when they put a tongue tie on, was a pretty decent effort when it wasn't going to beat Lead Artist, but he got fairly close to that horse. We'll talk about Lead Artist in a couple of races time in the Group 2. He's a short price favourite for it. I just think they might have turned a bit of a corner with this horse, Task Force, and the fact that there's a few, I say holes you could probably pick in the ones at the front. It's not so much holes in terms of their chances. It's just holes probably to say that they shouldn't be as short as they are. I think 8 to 1 Task Force with 3 places up for grabs seems reasonable enough for me. And on his peak RPRs as well, See the Fire's 116 last time out, I don't genuinely believe. Ali and Arby did a 112, but hasn't been as good since. And Task Force did 110 the last day, and I think he's on an upward curve. So there's not much to find on figures either. So Task Force, I'll take a little bit of a go at in the first.
8 to 1 shot for Rafe Beckett and Ross Orion. Task Force, then a nice price as well. So we switch over to Goodwood for the 205, the Group 3 Prestige Filly Stakes, 2-year-olds over 7 furlongs. Of course, not much to go on in this one in terms of form. Definitely towards the head of the market here, but the market, Dave, seems to be favouring those unexposed types of formal, and Tabiti heading the way.
Yeah, so you said there's not too much to go by, which typically there isn't, but the one that I do like has had a few runs. I'll touch on that one in a second, but just to touch on the ones towards the head of the market, Tabiti did all her work from the front on debut, looked like she was just going to sort of struggle to get home, but then was well on top at the end. It was the sort of performance I thought watching first time. She was very professional. She was ready to go first time up. So yes, she'll probably step forward. They all will, wouldn't they? But I don't know how much more she's going to particularly find. And then Formal tanked through her race and her maiden. Didn't really find a lot, though, when she was actually asked. So often you'll see a jockey that sits motionless on top of a horse and everyone thinks the horse must have loads left. When he did give her a little bit of a squeeze, she didn't really do too much after. So I would question what she beat. And for that reason, I'm going to take a little bit of a swing on Merrily, who has had 3 starts in here. Debut was over 6.5. It was a bit of a weird race, that race, because something got squeezed in short for room on the rail. So I think her finishing position possibly flattered her a little bit, but she just looked really green, had quite a high head carriage. They then dropped her back to 5 furlongs when Ryan Moore was up top. She got challenged by a horse late in the day and then kicked again. So I like the attitude of that. But again, head was quite high, and I'd still say she looked a bit green. Then the third run, when she was behind Miss Lamai, I still think she looked quite green there. And this is the problem. You can only be green for so long, really, can't you? She might just be a little bit of a rogue. But when she had that debut run over 6.5, I thought she looked like a horse that wanted to go up in trip, which is what they're finally doing now at 7 furlongs. So she's 7 to 1 top price. There are a couple of firms offering 4 places. I think she's quite a safe way to play it, especially if she's a bit of a rogue. But I think there's plenty more to come from her now she's stepping back up in trip. So Merrily for Aidan O'Brien.
Aidan O'Brien in a 7 to 1 shot for an Aidan O'Brien leading contender then in a race of this nature. It's not a price that we tend to associate. And of course, this week at York, not much is going to put you off of that yard form, is it? Now, Andrew, who do you like of these fillies?
Yeah, this is a cracking race. And a quick mention about Goodwood. The wind is going to die down on Saturday. So whether it would have been a tailwind or a headwind, there probably won't be one. And there is a lot of rain forecast on Saturday morning before racing, about 1/2 inch. or sort of 12 or 13 mil in new money. So do check the weather if you've got a horse who does want particular ground. Formal, was sort of fairly weak in the market when beating Glistening on debut. And the third, Quilling Queen for Ed Walker, came out and won at 16-1 next time at Salisbury, when I put her up in my column and napped her in the Racing Post. So blow my own trumpet there, because it doesn't happen very often.
Nice.
But that brings us on to Ed Walker's second time out 2-year-olds. My angle with Ed Walker is back in his second time out 2-year-olds who won or were beaten less than 5 lengths on their debut. But all his second time 2-year-olds this year, whether they were like beaten 20 lengths or whatever, have done fantastically well. 7 winners from 10 runners, plus £50, 53. And with this one having shown enough to win on debut, I'm talking about Troia, of course, who was successful at Newbury first time out. I think you've got to follow that through and back her second time out to continue that fantastic record. And of those nearer the head of the betting, Tabiti, a wide margin winner at Newmarket, would be the one over Formal. When you look through the profile of winners of this race, a hell of a lot of them had won their novice or maiden by a wide margins for 3, 4, 5 lengths, crops up loads of times. I think something like 7 or 8 times out the last 10 years. So Tabiti fits that profile. So I'll go Troia over Tabiti, all the T's.
Okay, all the T's then, yeah. Okay, so Tabiti as the second selection, but Troy. And it is interesting. I was just watching in the background there an interview with Ed Walker, of course, with Celandine going and winning the Lowther, and sort of saying that, well, there seems to be a massive focus now, or a slight gear shift towards you and your 2-year-olds, and the fact you've never been known as a 2-year-old trainer. Why this season is it coming to the fore? And he has said that there has been a bit of a gear shift in that sense in the yards. So Troia at 12-1. I would still expect her to take a step forwards from that Davies start in that Group 3. Now we move over to York again for the 225. This is the Melrose Heritage Handicap 3-year-olds over a mile 6, over 3-year-old version of the Ebor, of course, then later on over the same course and distance. Always a tricky one. We're always looking for that potential group horse in here, or a horse that's going to be sold abroad, Andrew.
Yeah, this often goes to a hold-up performer as well, despite the fact that York traditionally favours pace, and certainly has done this week. You know, we've had some good ones. Our old friend Hamish won this back in 2019. Middle Earth won it last year, of course. So it can throw up a really classy individual. Very tricky to decipher this time around. I thought the Equator was interesting in the first time. Blinkers for Aidan O'Brien wasn't usually taken with the King's horse, Sir Michael Stout's Reaching High. I know he won by a very wide margin at Wolverhampton last time out, but that race was run to suit the closers, so he may have been a shade flattered, even though he's obviously won very easily. Tacticians win in the Brown Jack handicap at Ascot last time hasn't worked out, with his runner-up Attila the Honey and the third being beaten last time out. So I was drawn to the Irish Radio. So we saw an Irish horse win a handicap here over the a staying trip on day one. I thought Going Remote was very interesting. You look at this one's form in handicap company over 10 furlongs or further, good old faster ground, second by half a length, second by a neck, first and first. Of course, that last win coming at Ascot at the Sugar Cup. So yeah, I'll go Going Remote here for Jessica Harrington. Well, I said John Harrington.
Well, I mean, Mrs. John Harrington is still down, as you say, on the race card there anyway. So I wouldn't, we know who you meant anyway by that point. But yeah, so we've got Racing League form at the head of the market with Reaching High, then Going Remote for Jessie Harrington coming over after a Sugar Cup success. So all the novelty races coming to the fore, Dave.
And you weren't calling it a novelty event when you were getting paid to present
I know.
it.
Oh, I'm fickle. I am fickle. I am. Yeah, if I'm suddenly off the payroll and now it's novelty.
Well, that's what it is, isn't it, right? Horse racing's a business of making money, and whether you do that by winning races or whether you do it by betting on horses, each to your own, isn't it? But I do think the winner of this race has been waiting to land a big pot. It's Dramatic Star for William Haggis. Remember, this horse was well supported back at Haydock earlier this season, slipped on the bend, didn't he? And then was almost immediately eased by Tom Marquand that day, but was relatively well supported. That was first time in a handicap. I think this race would have been a long-term plan anyway for the horse. So regardless of what did happen in that Haydock race, I think the horse was there to win that day. It runs off the same mark now because obviously didn't really finish that race, was pulled up. But in my mind, potentially would have run well there and potentially could have been coming here off of a higher mark. Now that is all if buts and maybes, isn't it? Because obviously he did stumble on that bend, and we don't know what the result of the race would have been. But Andrew touched on Middle Earth that won the race last year, top class horse, but was progressing in terms of distance with each run, but always started out quite early on, like as a stay-in type. And from the breeding perspective as well, we could see that horse wanted the trip. Now, Dramatic Star's mum, Dramatic Queen, actually won a Group 3 here over course and distance, the Bronte Cup Filly Stakes, and then was pulled up in an Ebor, which was the last time that she actually raced. Just think that the breeding is there. The fact that they punted this horse at Haydock when it was a reasonable pot that day, but I do think would have been a stepping stone for this race anyway. They obviously had the slip and stumble. Whether they've waited because there may have been an issue after, I don't definitely know. But I do just think that the plan would have been to keep him fresh for this, because he probably would have won. I think that he's a massive bet this weekend. I think he's probably, for me, of the handicaps at York this week, the most obvious winner of the entire week. He's 13-2, top price at the time of recording. There's 5 places up for grabs, so you've got a little bit of a safety net there, because as far as I'm concerned, there's no way that there's 5 horses in this race that are better than Dramatic Star. I think he's extremely well handicapped, and I think he's going to get redemption for that slip up at Haydock last time. I think that Dramatic Star is one of the best bets of the weekend.
Oh,
well,
lovely.
we know exactly which part of the video we're going to be clipping up for the little teaser into this week's GG Weekend Watch. Normally I'm bad at spotting it, but this one was just blaringly obvious for us all to see then for Dave. Dramatic Star. And yeah, 5 places with BetMGM and each way plus race on offer. So
is there anyone taking bets on Dave's nap this week?
I know. I still, to this day, we've been saying it for about a year now, haven't we? Of just getting the little card and holding it up there, ready to show who I think you're going to be napping. But I mean, fair play, Dave. If you do nap in the Melrose, you might well have put us away on that sense. But Dramatic Star, though, good case made. Now we're going to head back to Goodwood for the 240, the Group 2 Celebration Mark Stakes. 3 rods and over a mile. Now, 4-5 favourite Lead Artist is leading the way. It's been well supported. Dear old Sunny listening here, and loads of characters we know about. I say loads, it's a small field, Dave, but characters we know about.
Yeah, characters is probably a good way to name this race, isn't it? Because there's, I want to say, question marks about a few of them. There's just nice horses in here that I think all as almost like parents. We just want them all to do really well, and unfortunately, some of them just haven't really been doing the homework and don't seem to be progressing. But we will excuse them like we would our children going forward. It makes it a bit mad, really, that Lead Artist is as short as he is in this race. Like odds on in a few places for this, but obviously did win the Thoroughbred Stakes at Goodwood in pretty good fashion as well. We touched on that when I was talking about Task Force running in there. He's really unexposed as well, isn't he? Gets a bit of weight because of his age. I just think that there's a very good chance that he can repeat that effort at Goodwood. He is on an upward curve. If a couple of these really did pull out their best efforts, he would definitely need to improve on what he did last time out. This is a Group 2, and there are some good horses in here, but it's being a smaller field. Like, I think Ice Max probably needs a lot of ease under the ground, and I don't think it's going to be able to get as much as probably needs. Royal Dress might not quite be a Group 2 horse, but has incredible form at Goodwood. It got a listed win over course and distance, admittedly not by a big margin, but that horse is going to be gunning for this particular race, I would have thought. Sonny Liston, as much as I knocked him before, like saying he's sort of achieved these numbering handicaps, he has kind of been put in his place the last couple of times. But, you know, on his day, and if he's starting to settle, because this is potentially a bit more of his bag, he could go well. So it's not a race that I think I will actually be playing in. But it's one of those, I think you should question yourself at home. Do you want to take even money for Lead Artist to win, or would you rather have the rest of the field running for you? I can't make my mind up, so that's why I'm going to sit out. But it just looks balanced on like a knife edge, I think. A good race to watch, but if Lead Artist continues his progression, he might look like a good thing.
Yeah, and even money might look a good price, but exactly how you weigh that up. Even money with BetMGM, though, at the time of recording, is Lead Artist. Andrew, how did you view this race?
Well, it's a strange old race because like Lead Artist is 11-10 against with one firm, 5-4 on with another. Royal Dress is the biggest discrepancy, 20-1 with a firm I can't get a bet on with, and as short as 6-1 with others. So you look at the price I can have a bet at, probably 9-1 if I leg it down to town to the betting shop. it's always difficult taking that sort of price about a horse, which is probably value actually, when you know that twice as big is available elsewhere. And we've tipped up Royal Dress on this program before when she won over course of distance. She won a Group 2 in Ireland last time out. She's progressing. I think the key as well is that she likes a small field, and if the rain arrives for the daughter of Knight of Thunder, I think she'll be fun. I mean, she's probably not reliant on this sort of, on sort of slow ground, but she had 3 runs in single figure lineup since joining James Tate from Richard Hannon. That 33-1 over course of distance on soft ground. The post up third to Breege on good to soft at Epsom when she was very unlucky in the run. And that Curragh win last time out on officially good going one. I think from memory the times made it quicker than that. And then you go back to her James Tate form. The last time she had a small field for him, she was a winner by 3 lengths on heavy ground. So I think Royal Dress is the one. The prices are just all over the place here. Sonny Liston can be forgiven that course and distance defeat last time out. That was in Group 1 company in the Sussex Stakes. And bizarrely, he made the running. Given that all his best forms coming from late off the pace at the likes of Royal Ascot in fields of 29 runners, it was a slightly odd move to try and serve it up to notable speech from the front. I'm sure those tactics won't be readopted, and we'll see him held on to again so he could bounce back. But I mean, I can't believe Ice Max in places is a shorter price than Royal Dress. So yeah, Royal Dress for me, strong bet.
Okay, strong bet then. Yeah, it's fascinating. Like I say, you look across at how this race is being priced up across the board, and it is different everywhere. Yeah, BetMGM have got Ice Max at 16-1, Royal Dress at 7. So one of those that has also seen that angle, and those very clever traders not missing that then about Royal Dress in the Celebration Mile Stakes. Now the 3 o'clock at York is the Group 2 City of York Stakes, 3-year odds and over 7 furlongs. Still not the Group 1. Still not. Still got to wait a bit more time for that. I believe it's the first 3 home. Again, they need to average out a rating of 115 or higher to even be considered. Yeah, again, I can't remember how many years it needs to have shown it, but it's shown it for the last few years. How many years it needs to then go to the patent committees across Europe and, of course, over here as well to be able to get that Group 1 status. So it's a very tricky thing to do, but good old York, they're chucking everything they can at it. Now, audience, if he goes and wins this and he is rated 124, that will help the average some amount, Andrew, but does he go and win?
Yeah, they're interesting because Kinross and Audience met in this race last year. Kinross getting the better of Audience. They were 9-4 favourite and 20-1 respectively. Roles are reversed this time around with Audience heading the market around about 7-4. Now, of course, he's also got fellow frontrunner Art Power in opposition. And we saw at Goodwood that the two were just allowed to sort of dominate, weren't they? Nobody sort of chased that pair. I mean, I think the jockeys like me thought there would be a pace collapse because there certainly seemed to be a lot of pace on paper in that in the Lennox Stakes. One of the front runners missed the break, though. Another one decided to change tactics, and it was a pace race. So yeah, tactically fascinating again as to what they're going to do. I mean, Art Power might last a little bit longer this time, although 7 furlongs isn't his trip. I think York is more his track than Goodwood. So we could see the same again. Art Power leads, Audience sits in second, the rest of them sort of sit back a few lengths behind them, and you could end up seeing Art Power and Audience finishing 1-2 again, maybe in a different order this time around. So I certainly won't put anybody off doing the reverse exacta on that pair. Kinross, hard to fall, probably be ridden a little bit closer to the pace this time round, I would have thought. But I'm just going to put up Shouldvebeenaring based on his course form, really. Probably clutching at straws in the hope that the front runners do come back. But I do like his previous runs here. He's got a 6 furlong win, 19 runners beating Washington Heights to his name, and a no second to Millstream from his 2 6 furlong runs here. The 7 furlong run, I think it was excusable on account of the soft ground. So yeah, I'll take a chance on the stamina of Shouldvebeenaring. I just hope that they do go hard up front.
Yeah, the pace angle is going to be fascinating. At 15-2 at BetMGM Shouldvebeenaring, and with again that course win to his name, it's going to stand him in very good stead, you would have thought. But Dave, tactically, this is fascinating. If we're going to get the same play out as Goodwood, or whether or not roles are going to be reversed here.
Yeah, it is. That is very interesting. And I think everything's just sort of teed up for it to be easier for audience than it was last year. Having Art Power in here gave him a good toe in that Goodwood race. I know they were sort of head bobbing a little bit, but in that race 12 months ago, Kinross was really well on top at the end. But Kinross just doesn't look the same horse now. And like 12 months on, audience now all of a sudden looks like he is a genuine proper Group 1 horse. You touched on like the status of this race, didn't you? That I think it was back in up to 2015 it was listed, wasn't it? And then since 16 and 17 it was a Group 3, and then it's been a Group 2 since. So like it's staggering its way up there. But since it's been getting into a better class race, the last 4 winners of this race have all raced in that Lennox Stakes at Goodwood. So that is Audience, Kinross, and potentially Art Power. Look, Lake Forest is stepping up in trips. The 3-year-old gets a little bit of weight in it. I don't believe that horse will win the race, but it's taken up a good bit of the market. Has definitely got a chance. Should have been a ring that Andrew talked about as well. Definitely could. So it's not just those that ran in the Lennox Stakes that got a chance, but, and it's a big but, Audience now, how many times has he got to go and do something for us to take note and look at him in a Group 2 and think, Christ almighty, we're getting 7-4 about a horse that slammed these rivals last time, giving them £5. Yes, he was sent off 4-1 in there, but if you could have said last time when he was 4-1, I'll give you 7-4 and you can take £5 off his back, I think a lot of people would have been excited. We know what he did about in that race at the Lennox Stakes. So I just think, given what he did to Sharon at the start of the season as well, and as much as he was a big price that day, he was supported. He was a bigger price 5 minutes before the off than he was at the off. I don't think everyone was fully expecting him to not be ready and to go and do something there. I just think he's already proved himself now. He's backed up in that Goodwood run to prove himself that he's better than all of these. He's about 10-12 pounds better than these on figures. 7-4 about him is going to look an absolute gift. And I know we can look at that last year form and think that Kinross maybe could do something about it, but I don't think he will. If Art Power wasn't in here and there wasn't a horse to tow Audience along a little bit, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But I just think this is absolutely perfect for Audience to just go and batter him again, and 7-4 is going to look stupid. But he looks like so blatantly obvious. Like I cannot possibly have Audience getting beat in this, that probably something's going to go wrong, isn't it?
I mean, it is York, to be fair, at the end of the day, so anything can happen at York. But I am with you though, Dave. But again, like, you know me, this is going to be my bingo card. It kills me to go against Kinross, my absolute favorite flat horse in training, and he has been for the last however many years now. Of course, now a 7-year-old, and he's still operating to an unbelievably high level, and he's still such a 7 furlong specialist, but he just isn't quite the same as he was last year. I don't think it's as much of a fall off the cliff as some people are making out. But yeah, Kinross though, he's just not quite there. And I still thought he showed such a great attitude last time out, considering the amount of ground he had to make up in the Lennox, where I was expecting a pace collapse even halfway through the race. But surely, even for Audience now, he'll come back, and Art Power started falling away, and Audience just kept on rolling. And bless Kinross, he kept trying all the way, but I just feel that his crown might have been passed over now to Audience, who, despite all of his quirks and how he used to be, he just seemingly has become this much more professional model. If he goes to York, I think he can shrug off Art Power, even however they ride him. If they try to ride him to get the 7 furlongs properly, we know he's got the extra stamina, he's got the speed, he's got the running style. I just think he's going to be very, very difficult to beat. I really hope, though, for the average, that Kinross is right there in the finish for 2nd or 3rd, and either Shouldvebeenaring or Art Power. But maybe we'll just go on the Lennox form and go for those 3 to finish first 3 home and keep the average up. So hopefully we can get it then into Group 1 status in the coming years at York. Now, again, we're going to stick at York for the remaining 2 races that we're going to look at for 3:35. Now, this is the big one, though. This is the Ebor Heritage Handicap 4-year-olds and over a mile 6. Never easy. War of attrition that we have to go at here, Dave. So who do you like?
Well, it's like semi-annoying because it gets to these big field handicaps, and I mean, everyone does, don't they? Everyone wants to find that little gem that's a massive price so we can boom a big priced winner. I was waiting for the draw to come out to see if I could find a reason to take on Queenstown, and then they put it in 22. So literally the most perfect draw. And I say the most perfect draw, I think it's 7 of the last 10 have been drawn in the top half. But even since the turn of the century, like being drawn quite high in this race is a positive. So it's hard to really want to take on the one at the front of the market for all the fact that it is relatively short. We talked about Kyprios earlier in the season, and I was poo-pooing Queenstown finishing so close to Kyprios and marking down Kyprios' performance before he ran in the Ascot Gold Cup. obviously he's slammed everyone, showing that he's just as good as ever. So I think that Queenstown potentially needs to be upgraded on his couple of runs behind there. So look, has a favourites chance, but boo, I'm not tipping up a favourite in the Ebor. Come on, we're better than that. It's interesting with this horse, well, carrying quite a lot of weight. Most of the recent winners have been rated quite high. It's turned into, it's obviously not a group race, but it's turned into a race where these horses are potentially group standard that run in here, or they're much better than sort of handicappers. Queenstown is second, like top weight in here, which would put a few people off, but not me, because I'm going to put up the top weight, Relentless Voyager, because I think this horse has got a reasonable form chance, to be fair. A few runs ago, one handicap at Epsom beating Ziggy, was giving Ziggy £9. Ziggy's a 6-year-old, so a couple of years he's older, but has come out and franked the form multiple times since, so much so that his mark has risen and he's only getting £7 from Relentless Voyager now. Relentless Voyager slapped him that day as well, like so easily. So if he couldn't get close to him when he was getting £9, he ain't gonna get close to him when he's got £7. And Ziggy's about the same sort of price in this market. Got a nice high draw in here as well. And then the 2 runs after that handicap run at Epsom went up against Klondike over 1 mile 6. Now, Hayley Turner was riding that day instead of O'Sheen, who's back on for this race. And she was proper giving him every single barrel the whole way home. And he was staying on. He was running up against Klondike. I think it was Salt Bay that came second. And they're proven to be sort of close to 110 type horses. So as much as Relentless Voyager's mark is pretty high, I think there's substance enough to say that he's run well there. And then obviously Al Arzi, when he went and dotted up at Goodwood and won as easy as he likes, Relentless Voyager was still best of the rest. So I think, again, confirming that his class is up there. It's a handicap, obviously, because the horses are weighted to do that. But I do just think that the class could prevail in this one. So I think Queenstown and Relentless Voyager have both got fairly obvious chances. 16 to 1 about Relentless Voyager, though, is the way I'm going to play it. 6 places up for grabs, little each way poke. Let's have a go.
Yeah, 6 places with BetMGM, another each way plus race. So Relentless Voyager, a nice price to boot as well, around 16 to 1. But also, not to put you off of Queenstown, heading the way at 6 to 1 with BetMGM as well. Then, but the 6 places on offer. Andrew, are you likewise looking to utilize it?
Yeah, it's very tricky. Having put up one at a big price last year as a win-only bet in Kai's Chorister, who finished 6th. I think I'll better go each way this time around. Funny with the ratings this year, because you go back 2 years ago, the bottom rated in this race was rated 100. Today it's 86, so it does seem to have lost something in quality compared to some of the recent renewals. My old friend Alfred Butcher is in here. Alfred Butcher. He's got a fantastic, I mean, bombed out last time out, but that was his first run for a long time. And he's got a fantastic record at this time of year. You look at his handicap form in July, August, over a mile or further. 4 wins, 2 seconds, a 4th and a 9th from 8 starts. So I was fascinated to see how he got on. Probably doesn't stay this, well, potentially might not stay this trip, though. Will certainly, would prefer, say, sort of a mile and a half, I think was his, oh no, sorry, it was 2 miles last time, wasn't it? Yeah, so this in-between trip should be fine, I think. His last 2 wins over a mile and a half and 2. Yashin was quite interesting, because this is a weaker renewal than last year. Last year he was only beaten 3 lengths into 7th. He's had a wind operation since we last saw him. And, if we get into this and every single handicap over the 10 furlongs or further at York's been won by an Irish raider, that might add further weight to the case for Jessica Harrington's runner. And Epic Poet was the one I wrote up after that good run in the John Smith's Cup. I mean, it's rare for a winner of the Ebor to have run over a trip below a mile 5, let alone an extended mile 2 last time out. But that race did work out extremely well. He came from off the pace when it wasn't easy to do. I mean, draw-wise, last year it was good to firm, but after they raced on, after a week of wear and tear on the far side, they all came down the near side, didn't they? It was quite an odd finish to the race. So if there is a bit of rain or if they water, and you might find that sort of stand-side route in the straight is favoured. So I wouldn't sort of read too much into let a high draw put you off. Fairbanks would have a good shout as well for that reason. But I'm going to go for a funny one. I mean, I'm probably not going to have a bet in the race because it's absolutely horrendous. But maybe I'll put the price of a lottery ticket each way, one for the bingo card fans there, on one for the gutter. Ian Williams, 5-year-old. That's a 66 to 1 best price, I think. Now, last time out, he bombed out in that reaching high Wolverhampton race for the Racing League, but raced up with the pace when you had to come from well back. I mean, generally speaking, a mile 4+ at Wolverhampton, you don't want to be anywhere near the front end, particularly when there's a big field and an honest gallop. You look at his last 2 turf runs, he was a close-up third at Yarmouth over a mile 6. I think that was another Racing League contest, because they've got the silly colours when you click on the result. And he was also second to Fairbanks at Newmarket, beaten 11 3/4. They were 15 to 8 and 14 to 1 that day, and 60 to 1 is possibly an overreaction. Stall 10, so, that seems fine, that draw. So I'll go 1 for the gutter each way for small stakes.
66 to 1. Ian Williams has got some big price horses in here, but we know that Alfred Bouch, he finished second in this race, didn't he, for his injury, but 1 for the gutter. Then a younger horse at the age of 5 who is a big price in here with those extra places on offer as well. BetMGM in the Ebor. Now we sign off with the 410.
Sorry, before you sign off, could I just quickly mention a couple of jumpers in there? Because I was going to talk about them, and I feel like I have to. Can I quickly?
I feel like you're going to pass out if you don't. So
yeah. It's because I was trying to keep it concise for the viewers now. But you know what? I'm going to waffle for a second because there's a couple in here, right? Hip Hop de Loire. Easy for you to say. It's like Hip Hop Anonymous from that film, isn't it? This is a Willie Mullins horse. Lots of people are going to be attracted by it. It's drawn in stall 2, which is a negative. I just want to talk about this one because it's set like 7-8 to 1 poke. When it ran over hurdles last time, Paul Townend was on board, was beaten by a Willie Mullins stablemate that was sent off favourite. So it's very unlikely for Paul Townend's mounts to not go off favourite. But the horse that beat it was a 9-year-old that's rated 101 over hurdles, and this horse is rated about the same on the flat. Like I couldn't have that one in the slightest. So again, cue that one going in. But the one that is definitely worth mentioning, the only reason why I didn't mention it quickly before is because the price is a tiny bit skinny for a big handicap, but it's Burdett Road. This has long been an aim for this particular horse. Obviously, it was one-time favourite for the Triumph, bumped into Sagino, and then we just didn't see the horse again over hurdles, but had a bit of a prep run earlier this season. They've definitely been waiting off the mark, and the mark looks particularly good because Sagino is an absolute weapon, so you can translate the hurdle form into flat a little bit. And like I say, the Willie Mullins one was beaten by a 101 9-year-old. But also Burdett Road, when he won, I think he ran in the Winter Hill Stakes, he was last year behind Passenger. As a 3-year-old, they were both 3-year-olds that time. It was only a few lengths behind that horse. Passenger's an aeroplane of a horse, isn't he? So Burdett Road probably is well handicapped. Whether he's quite well handicapped enough to overcome the draw and to win this race, well, we'll find out on Saturday, won't we? But I definitely think that Burdett Road has had a long-term aim for the Ebor, and of the jumpers, he will definitely finish first of all of them. Not so Sleepy's in it too, isn't he? But that's as much as I want to say about him. And I will be quiet now.
No, I'm pleased that you got it out, or else you would have just been sat there just shaking. Otherwise, you need to let it out sometimes. But Burdett Road, fascinating contender, a 4-year-old. And yeah, that Winter Hill Stakes run was the last one that he had for Michael Bell as well. Before then, he switched over and obviously went jumping stuff. He ain't got anything to jump this time around. Right, 4:10 then. We're signing off at York. This is with the Constantine handicap again. Heritage handicap, 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs. We talk about wide open handicaps. This is yet another one, Andrew. So again, yeah, nice easy show for you.
Yeah, tricky race. I don't suppose Summerhand's running, is he? We could always tip him. Oh, yes.
Here he is. It's a Saturday. It's 6 furlongs, well, /7 now. So yeah, he will be rocking up.
Yeah, we talked about the perils of backing 10-year-olds in Heritage handicaps. Bless him, and Summerhand fans will know that. But again, it's August, the time of year where he generally excels. He loves fast ground. And after being drawn out of it when midfield in the Stewards Cup on his penultimate start, he bounced back to run a really good race in the Great St Wilfrid last week. That was a solid effort, finishing 4th. Again, I wouldn't put you off backing him each way in this race. He's 10 to 1 this time. He's got Oisin Murphy on board. He's well drawn on the evidence of the early races on days 1 and 2 at York, and so he's won the race. This race has been going for 4 years. He won the first 2 runnings, sorry, 3 years. 2 years because dead heat, wasn't it? Because it was, so that's why there's 3 winners. Yeah, so he's won both previous runnings of this race, if you like. So yeah, certainly wouldn't put you off. Dare to hope the Great St Wilfrid winner is out again. Whether York's as suitable for him as Rippin remains to be seen, but he's nicely drawn in stall 3. As Elman Jedd's got a good draw as well for William Haggis. I was against him at Windsor last time out because it was the sort of age stats for that sprint series final for 3-year-olds. Don't have a great record in it, yet he still won. And in the first time blinkers, Billy Joe is the one I put up each way in the Stewards Cup. Stall 15 might not be any good, and his patient running style has got to be a worry. He's sure to be finishing to good effect, but 6 furlongs at York might not be suitable for him. He ran a blinder in the Stewards Cup, winning the race down the middle of the track. I'll be against Apollo 1. He does seem to find winning difficult, and he was flattered by the draw, went second at Goodwood in the Stewards. So it's really tricky. I need to do more work on it, just in case the draw flips by the time we get round to Saturday. But one I'm going to take a chance with at a stupid price is from stall 17, in the hope that the draw does flip by Saturday, and it's 50-1 shot Oso Rapido. Now, Oso Rapido is one I've written up previously in various columns as a horse who peaks at this time of year. He's got a really good record in August and September, and he tends to do sort of nothing before that sort of late July, early August time. And he bounced back from some terrible efforts to finish second by a short head at Pontefract on the 7th of August. Going down, it was 22-1 that day. Now, he ran the other day at Carlisle, but that was into the headwind when over 7 furlongs, when he went off far too quick and the front runners finished out the back of the telly and set it up for the closers. So you can strike a line through that. And if that draw doesn't look as bad as it did, or in the early races come Saturday, then Oso Rapido, who has run well here before, he could run some sort of race at a massive price. So I'll put him up with the tentative each way pick at the moment. But yeah, Summerhand each way certainly won't put you off at 10-1.
Oh, Dave, just waiting. He's waiting for his moment there. But Oso Rapido, 50-1 as the outsider of the field. Again, another each way plus race with BetMGM, 5 places on offer. Right, Dave, you have sat there patiently enough. Is this finally Summergan's time to shine and to get that lucky run through in running? Finally.
I mean, I don't know, do I? I'm just going to bet him. I think I can obviously keep this one short. Everyone's obviously said in the comments and they wait for York to do all that sort of stuff. Andrew's touched on the race has run twice. I know it was a dead heat last year, but he's won it twice, hasn't he? The Great St Wilfrid run was pretty good. I still wonder now he's a bit older whether he has quite got the speed for 6 furlongs, but he's like a £6 swing with that Dare to Hope that he was only a few lengths behind. Oisin's on board. Like, you don't need to make a case for him, do you? So he's 10-1 this time rather than the 6-1 he was at the top of the market last time out. I mean, 10-1, 5 places up for grabs. Got to be a bit of a free roll in it, and let's fingers crossed he finally gets it done.
Oh, hopefully so. I'd love to know what they do with him in between runs. They say they must just literally stick him out in the field, maybe stick him on the walker for like, I don't know, 20 minutes of an evening or something, but he must just get stuck out in the field and then just only get sat on race.
He's probably got a paper round or something like that to keep him busy.
Just to keep him entertained. To be fair, I would trust him. I would trust him with a paper round. I mean, he may find some traffic issues on the way, may get there a bit late to your house to deliver the post, but other than that, I would trust Summergan for his little postal delivery. Right. That will hopefully sign off then a cracking card for us, at least anyway, the televised races at York. But Dave, I'll go back to you, please. Anything from anywhere else?
Not yet. I didn't have enough time to look through everything. So what we've got on this Saturday's ITV card will be enough to keep everyone going for sure. Yeah,
there's enough runners, to be fair, to be trawling through and going at. Andrew?
No, not for me. I didn't really have enough time to look at the races we're covering. That's why I've talked absolute cobblers for the last 45 minutes. So.
Beautiful. If you've got this far, there you go. That's your reward for getting this
far.
Take
my column on Saturday.
Yeah, make sure to get then onto the column to find out the further in-depth analysis. So then, Andrew, it is nap time from the cobbler's horses we've been talking about. What do you like?
I'll go Royal Dress in the Group 2 celebration at mile at Goodwood at the 240.
Back over a favourite course and distance, Dave?
Dramatic Star in the Melrose.
Of course. You would have put us right away if you hadn't gone back then with Dramatic Star. And I'm going to go audience then in the city of York. Takes a pretty obvious one, but I'm pleased that Dave was further bolstering my thoughts behind him in the 7 furlong contest. Right, that is everything from us on this week's show. So a big thank you to Dave and to Andrew for all of their hard work as per usual. A big thank you to our sponsors, BetMGM. A big thank you to you for watching. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. Enjoy the action and we'll speak to you again next week.